content presented in this podcast is based on real events and may contain graphic descriptions of violence, sensitive topics, and explicit language that may be triggering, offensive, or sensitive subjects to some viewers and listeners. Discretion is advised. The purpose of this podcast is to explore and discuss true crime cases for entertainment and educational purposes only. This podcast does not intend to glorify or sensationalize crime, but rather aims to analyze and understand the complexities of human behavior in the criminal justice system. We encourage listeners to approach this content with empathy, critical thinking, respect for the victims and their families.
Before she became the damsel of death, before the cameras, the courtroom, and the chaos, Aileen Wuornos was a woman fighting for survival in a world that showed her no mercy. She was once called America's most notorious female serial killer, a predator, a monster, but behind that cold label was a lifetime of pain, abandonment, that no one wanted to talk about it. Born into violence, raised in neglect, sold, beaten, discarded by people who were supposed to protect her. By the time she was 10 years old, she was living out in the woods behind her grandfather's house, trading her body for scraps of food, cigarettes, or shelter. By 14, she was pregnant and being sexually assaulted by family members. Her child was taken away from her. Her innocence was long gone. And still, no one cared. So decades later, the same broken girl, now hardened, angry, and lost, would walk the highways of Florida selling sex to survive. But between 1989 and 1990, 7 men would end up dead, and Aileen would become a symbol of everything America fears and refuses to understand. A woman who fought back, but in the ugliest way imaginable. Was Aileen Wuornos born a killer? Or was she created by years of abuse, betrayal, and a system that looked the other way? So with that being said, it's time to start the show. Let's hit it. Hi, welcome to another episode of Mysteries, Mayhem, and Merlot. I am your host, Winnie Schrader. Well, tonight, obviously, I watched another hot doc that just hit the stream waves on Netflix. It's Aileen Wuornos, Queen of Serial Killers. And this one kind of hits home for me a bit because I, too, have been in domestic abusive situations and sexually assaulted. But this is exactly what happened to her throughout her whole life. And if you're not familiar with the Aileen Wuornos story, well, I'm glad you're here because you're going to learn about it. But it really gets me my brain turning. Like, what are we doing as a society? Are we creating these monsters, or are they just born this way? And that I thought that this story would be a great one to showcase that duality of a serial killer or a murderer. Are they born that way? Were they made that way? What caused them to flip that switch and go crazy? But I kind of wanted to cover just the crimes up first because it was in a short period of time. She had 7 victims. A lot of the media at the time kind of painted her victims as these innocent men, family men, people that contribute to society. But they do know that Aileen was a prostitute and they were picking her up to pay her for sexual services. So I don't know how much of an upstanding citizen these men are, but her first victim, and this is the one that she said kind of flipped that switch for her, and that's Richard Mallory. He was 51 years old, died sometime December 1989. He was shot 2 times. He was a business owner. He owned like an electronic shop. Aileen said that this was uh, the first, I guess, John, if you want to call it, attacked her and tried to sexually assault her. And she had a 22 revolver in her purse and she shot him. Uh, During the trial, she said that he did some really sexual deviant things with her, sodomized her, used a rubbing alcohol on sensitive parts of her bodies. I mean, it sounded what how she described it, it was horrific. And she claimed self-defense. They found the next guy. Now, David Andrew Spears, he was 47. Now, this one is where they kind of figured out it was a woman doing this, is because he was naked outside of every case. This is weird. Every case, the car was found on a different side of the county where the body was, on a different side. But where they found the bodies with David Andrew, they found condoms and they found some blonde hair. So they're like, is this a woman doing this? I mean, that they were kind of baffled of what's going on. How are these men just ended up on the side of the road? Obviously, money was taken out of their wallets. They looked like they were robbed. So but David Spears was shot 6 times. So something's escalating here. Now, Charles Edmund Carskadden, he's 40. He was murdered May 31st of 1990. So her first one was December 1989. The next one was around May 19th, 1990. So she had a little break, but then shortly after that, they found Charles Edmund Carskadden, which he was wrapped up in an electric blanket, which kind of weird, especially for Florida. He was badly decomposed by the time they found him. Now, witnesses saw 2 women in possession of Carskadden's car. So they think, okay, well, maybe there were items in there that they could have pawned because he was known to have some guns and things like that. So they wanted to go check the pawn shops. Now, the witnesses that did see the 2 women in possession of his car, they gave a composite sketch of the 2 women that they saw. Now, the second woman that's in the car with her was Eileen's girlfriend of 4.5 years, Tyra Moore. But we'll dig into that a little later. We just want to talk about the victims right now. But the next one is Peter Abraham Sims or Sims. I'm not sure I pronounced it, but he was 65. This is kind of a strange job. He was a retired merchant seaman. I didn't even know that was a thing still. But he left Juniper, Florida, June of 1990, and he was supposed to get to Arkansas. He was doing so, I don't know if it was business or supposed to meet a family member in Arkansas, but he never showed up. And so that's why people called, had the police look into it, maybe do a welfare check or something, because he's like, he was supposed to arrive here and he hasn't come and we can't get a hold of him. But on July 4th of 1990, his car was found in Orange Springs, Florida, and both Wuornos and Moore were spotted and seen abandoning the car. And so when they took in the car in the possession of the police, they dusted it for prints and they found Eileen's fingerprints inside the car. Now, his body was never found, though. And then the last one was Walter Gino Antonio. He was 61. He was a trucker, a security guard. He also did some reserve. I think he was a former police officer and did some reserve work, things like that. But on November 19th, he was found nearly naked and shot 4 times. Now, January 9th of 1991, that's when the detectives and all the investigators on this case were really honing in on Aileen. And at the Last Resort biker bar, on an outstanding warrant. And they didn't say what the warrant was, but it was an outstanding warrant. And that's how they brought her in. Now, when she was taken in to custody, she didn't know what was she going in for. She could just ask, "What's the warrant for?" and they wouldn't tell her. Eventually, once she got in there, that's when she kind of cracked, started confessing. Now, she also talked on the phone with her girlfriend, Tyra Moore, and Tyra says she was not involved at all in the murders that Aileen committed, but she knew of them. And obviously she did, because she's sitting there helping her abandon cars on the side of the road and, pawn stolen items and taking the cash from these gentlemen callers, I guess you'd want to call them. So I don't know how she did not have any jail time is beyond me because in my opinion, she was an accomplice. Yeah, she may not have pulled the trigger, but she was benefiting from it. I can tell you that. Now, one thing that most people kind of label her, Eileen as is the first female serial killer, which she's not. I mean, there's been plenty. We have Rosemary West, you have Nanny Doss, Myra Hindley. I mean, Elizabeth Bathory. Hello. Which were a lot more devious, in my opinion, and more evil than anything Eileen did. But what in Eileen's past caused her to become the queen of serial killers, right? I mean, that's a powerful and complex question. I mean, really gets to the heart of who Eileen was as a person and how she became one of the most infamous female serial killers in American history. Now, there is no question that her childhood was a perfect storm of trauma, neglect, and abuse. And that kind of environment that can deeply distort a child's understanding of love, safety, family, and trust. Now, when you strip that away and the sensationalism that surrounds that story, you will see a child who never had a chance to develop a healthy sense of self moral stability. Now, here is a breakdown of the key psychological environmental factors that likely shaped her path. I mean, she was abandoned and she had lack of attachment. Her grandmother, well, her parents were drug addicts. So her grandparents took her in. Now, her grandmother was a very strict Christian woman. She was probably good for Eileen, honestly. She probably kept her on the straight and narrow and tried not to have her defer off into hanging out with people she shouldn't. Her grandfather, on the other hand, was an alcoholic, and he would abuse her sexually and physically. Hitting, beatings, and things like that. So, and then her grandma died when Eileen was just still a little girl. So that really that stable figure for her just it died and it went away, and now she's in sole care of her grandfather who abuses her and is an alcoholic, so she ran away from home. But, yeah, I mean, she's just on this survival mode at this point, and she's 14 years old, mind you, at this age. So, between the ages of 11, 12, 13, 14, she started trading sex for food and cigarettes. I mean, that's not what a normal young girl should be doing. And that isn't a sign of rebellion. I mean, she's trying to survive. It's also a sexual conditioning too when a child's body becomes currency before they even reach adulthood. That internalizes the message that their value comes from exploitation. So her value was just to exploit herself and abuse herself as well. But for Eileen, this most likely eroded any healthy sense of boundaries, intimacy, or worth. The line between consent and coercion just blurred for her permanently. I mean, there was just no difference. She was relentlessly bullied at school um, for her appearance, her smell, her behavior. I mean, she's neglected. I mean, nobody took care of her. That rejection fueled her rage a lot and reinforced her belief that the world was out to get her. It was against her. And she was ostracized by her community long before she even picked up a gun. I mean, she was labeled the town whore. I mean, God knows what they called her. But by that time, when she hit her teenage years, she was emotionally just feral. She was just a feral teenage girl, wounded, trying to survive in a world that basically had already written her off. What really is striking to me, though, is in her early life, how invisible she seemed to everybody in the I mean, from the schools to the social system, like nobody helped her. They saw what was going on. They saw the neglect. They could see the bruising. They knew what was going on with her, but nobody stepped in to help or intervened to try and do anything to get her back on the right path. And the only woman in her life that was able to do that was her grandmother. So by the time she was living on the street, she was in survival mode, trusting no one and lashing out if she felt threatened in any way, like a caged animal. And most people, when they talk about Eileen, they talk about her crimes, but nobody ever really looks at the woman behind the crimes. Why did she do it? What caused her to snap and start just blowing men away. Well, I can tell you what it was. It was decades of humiliation, abuse, fear. It's not like she just hated men. I think she hated the system. I think she hated the system that failed her, that didn't intervene. And because I think she knew who she could have become, and she tried to be domesticated. I mean, literally, she was a feral human being. And she just, when she met, it seemed like when she met her girlfriend, Tyra, that's when she started trying to kind of right the ship, but then everything fell apart once Eileen picked up that gun. So my opinion is that Eileen wasn't born a monster. She was made into one. That doesn't excuse her crimes. Trust me, she was guilty of her crimes. I don't think people painted her in the right light, and especially the courts immediately putting her to death. And the reason why she got the death penalty and was executed in Florida was because they said this was first degree murder, that was premeditated because she had the gun. I don't think it was premeditated. At least the first one, I don't think it was premeditated. I think the other ones, not necessarily premeditated. What I would say is probably she was just so much on edge. If a guy flinched the wrong way, she was gonna shoot. You know what I mean? She was just edged out on just rage and everything else. So it wasn't like, I don't think she was planning on it, but it was just that one snap judgment. Oh, he made me mad or he threatened me. I got to take him out. But her life is a haunting example of what happens when a deeply traumatized child grows up without help, without love, and without any hope possible. I mean, by the time she became an adult, she wasn't capable of processing any type of fear, rejection, or anything in a rational way. See, it was extreme. I mean, every threat to her probably felt like life and death. And because for most of her life, that's how it's been for her. I mean, she's been gang raped, assaulted by many men. I mean, no one. I'm shocked that it took her that long to start doing it, honestly. But that's all she knew how to do, was to survive that way, and that was her trade, and she knew she was good at it, and she could live off of it. So, she is that tragic intersection of victim and perpetrator. It's that crossroads. If you could go back at that crossroads and tell her to go in a different direction, would it have turned out differently? And that's, one thing that we have to look at so that we prevent those crossroads from even forming. That's kind of my hope. So we don't have and more people are like this. We just don't hear about it as often. It's not as sensationalized unless, it goes viral on TikTok or something. But now, after her arrest, though, and after she was painted this horrific monster in the media and in the papers, one woman didn't agree with Wuornos that she was a monster. And this is kind of a fun fact that I was unaware of during Eileen's reign in the early 90s there. But Arlene Prail, 44 years old at the time, she became Eileen's adopted mother. Yeah, mother. While Eileen was incarcerated. Now, in the early 1990s, Prail and her husband adopted Wuornos. After experiencing what they described as a call from God, they had a news article in front of them, and they were looking at Eileen's picture in the paper. Arlene said something called to her, and she just had to adopt her. So, and Prail was only 11 years older than Eileen at the time. Eileen was 35, and her mom is now 44. So,
then there's the serial killer's new mother. She first met Lee after her arrest and then legally adopted her.
Sheba. We believe in the Holy Spirit, and so we feel it was him prompting us that this person really needed help, and she had nobody, and just reach out to her. So we did.
I think that's kind of a cool catch. And one thing I really liked about Arlene, her purpose to adopt Eileen was to help Eileen find God and to find forgiveness within him and within herself. It's kind of Eileen's companion till the very end. And God bless her. that's how Christ was. I mean, he's love your enemy, love the downtrodden, love the people who need love the most. And that's what she did. So I thought that was very honorable of Arlene to do that. I would have never thought to adopt a serial killer in jail because they need a mom. But, it obviously it helped Eileen get through a lot of things while she was incarcerated all the way up until her execution. Now, was this trial fair when because originally she first tried for Mallory's murder, and that was one thing in the documentary. She kept complaining. She's like, "Why do you guys have to keep having hearings? I've confessed to all these murders. How many times do you have to put me to death? Because each count, each murder, they wanted to attack her with the death penalty." And honestly, I agree with her. It was kind of a waste of time and taxpayers' dollars to constantly have these court hearings to sentence her to death after she's already been sentenced to death 3 other times. Come on, how many times can you kill her? But one thing I thought was kind of shady during the trial, during the Mallory trial, was after she was arrested, Tyra said that she was paranoid that the cops were going to come for her. So she was having phone calls with Eileen, and what she would say on the phone is like, "Oh, they're asking my mom they're asking my family questions. They're paranoid. We're scared. You got to confess to this. Yeah, I had nothing to do with this." And she kept kind of pushing and pushing. And Eileen even said in the phone calls, she goes, "If I have to confess to everything to keep you out of jail, I will."
Hello? Yes. Yes.
Hi.
Hey.
Hey, I had to call you early because I didn't know if you were going to leave today or what.
What the hell's going on, Lee? They've called. They've been up to my parents again. They've got my sister now asking her questions. I don't know what the hell's going on.
Huh. What are they asking your sister questions for?
I don't know.
Hmm.
Lee, they're coming after me. I know they are.
No, they're not. They're your friends.
They've got to. Why are they asking so many questions then?
Honey, listen. Do what you gotta do, okay?
I'm going to have to because I'm like going to go to jail for something that you did. This isn't fair. My family is a nervous wreck up there. My mom has been calling me all the time. She doesn't know what the hell's going on.
Okay. Do what you gotta do, okay? Alrighty?
What?
I'm not gonna let you go to jail. You think?
You evidently don't love me anymore. You don't trust me or anything. I mean, you're going to let me get in trouble for something that I didn't do?
I said I'm not. Listen, quit crying.
I can't help it. I'm scared shitless.
I know. I left it
I don't know whether I should keep on living or if I should.
No, Tyler.
What if they don't believe me?
Tyler,
What?
I'm not gonna let you go to jail or anything. Listen, if I have to leave that, I will.
Yes. You explain how did you do this? Why did you do this?
Listen, Ty,
What?
I probably never.
Yes.
I love you. If I have to confess everything just to keep you in trouble, I will.
Okay.
Don't worry, okay?
Okay.
I love
No. I'll do it now. Get it over with.
Because she loved Tyra. I honestly feel that Eileen truly loved her and would have done anything for her. And she said that's even why she started carrying a gun when she would go out and prostitute herself. Because if you think about it, how many men did she sleep with and prostitute before she even met Tyra? Hmm? She didn't shoot any of them. She didn't start shooting men until she met Tyra and had a relationship with her for 4.5 years. So, you know, did she play a part in it? Well, kind of looking like that on the surface, right? You know, but in those phone calls that she was saying, so Eileen was just saying, I will protect you. I'll do anything I can. I'll confess to everything if I have to keep you out of jail, whatever. Tyra was working with the DA's office and investigators, so they were recording those calls and they played them in court, and Eileen had no idea they were recorded. And she felt like she was coerced into a confession to solely take blame for all this. I don't know if Tyra, if she ever pulled the trigger or not, and Aileen would not say that she did, because regardless if she felt betrayed by her, she still loved her. And Eileen's just like, my life's over with anyway. I'm just going to take the rap and, take my medicine and die and do what I have to do. That's kind of the vibe I got off of Eileen. So when you look at all those recorded calls on the surface saying, oh, my family's terrified. It was all fake, all fake. Her family wasn't getting harassed. So it was like they coerced her into confessing under false pretenses. Now, the lead prosecutor, John Tanner, which I don't know about this guy. I would not have him be in my DA's office. I can tell you that. But while he was trying this case, he was also running for state attorney's office. Conflict of interest? I think so. Every prosecutor running for political expediency needs to make an example out of something or someone every election cycle. Every election cycle. It's a given. Like they have to prove that they're worth something. I don't know what it is, but it's like they have to they'll grab a case and just run with it and just try and do whatever they can to go in their favor so they can get votes. Now, the original judge assigned to this case, and this is why I think John Tanner is starting to get a little corrupt, his little corrupt fingers in there, was a female judge by Gail Graziano. Now, she was a critical part on how the police and the prosecution handled this case because particularly their methods in obtaining the confession from Wuornos through her girlfriend, Tyra Moore. She believed the authorities were more interested in securing a conviction for political reasons, like I just said, and in finding the truth and ensuring a fair trial. Now, due to this outspoken criticism, guess who got removed from the bench? That's right, Gail did. And they put in another judge to try the case over her trial, which was the Richard Mallory trial, which was Judge Uriel Blount, but he was not a fan of Eileen, I can tell you that. And now John Tanner was also like, he's very conservative. I mean, he was on this huge moral campaign to rid that county of pornographic materials, all that stuff. So obviously Eileen is just a huge target for a guy like that, especially if he's running for election. I mean, she was the poster child for that kind of vulgar behavior in his opinion. Like I said, Richard Mallory, and those guys are like I said, they painted these men, these victims, and they are victims. I'm not saying they deserved what they got or anything like that. But how the media painted it was they were innocent men, and this monster of a woman just decided to take their life cold-blooded. And I don't think that's how it went down. These men were out wanting to pay her for sex. That's not a very moral high standing, in my opinion. I mean, if that's what they like to do, okay, but don't lie to the public and make this woman look like this monster and these men look like they're, choir boys. I mean, come on. And the majority of Mallory, here's another thing too that the DA's office and John Tanner decided to overlook or not see. One of the questions was, has Mallory been convicted or charged with any type of criminal past behavior or charge or anything like that? Did he have any felonies, misdemeanors? And he did. And guess what it was? Assault, sexual assault, and battery on a woman. Oh my goodness. So it's like, was Eileen really cold-blooded, killed him in cold blood, or was she really defending herself like she said? So they didn't do a thorough investigation. And John Tanner's response was, well, we didn't see any of that in his reports. And the reporter that even asked him, it was a correspondent from Dateline back in the day. She even asked him, she's like, well, I found it in your report that I got from your office. And his deer in headlights look, his response is, I believe she got a fair trial. Are you kidding me? if the jury knew that Mallory had a past sexual assault and battery charges, that could have turned some things for Aileen, at least not let her get the death penalty. They could have brought it down to second degree or manslaughter. But like I said, I'm not saying that what she did was right. She obviously did not take the right approach. Now, with me being in the position that I am, knowing what sexual assault feels like and being abused and physically and mentally, I can see where it would paint me into a corner and I'd feel like a caged animal. There were many times where I wanted to lash out, and I would even envision it in my mind, but I never took that step, but Eileen did. Trust me, I can see how at one point you've just had enough, and that's exactly how my relationship ended with my ex when I was in that relationship, was because I finally had enough and I snapped. Now, I didn't physically snap as much as I wanted to, trust me. I verbally snapped. I just let it all pour out of me, everything, how I felt, and that's kind of what Eileen did, but she did it in a violent way. And like I said, probably the victims after Mallory, they could have just been a little rough with her. They could have just flinched to the wrong way. And when you're in a mental state where you're terrified, you're terrified and emotionless at the same time. It's like you disassociate yourself with yourself. It's like you know what you're doing is wrong, but the rage is so strong.
I was just wondering how you're going to be, at 9:30 tomorrow morning. Are you prepared?
I'm prepared. I'm all right. I'm all right with it. I'm okay. I'm okay. God is going to be there. Jesus Christ is going to be there. All the angels and everything. And, whatever's on the beyond, I think it's going to be more like Star Trek, beaming me up into a space vehicle, man. Then I move on, recolonize to another planet or whatever. But it's whatever's the beyond. I know it's going to be good because I didn't do anything as wrong as they said. I did the right thing. And I saved a lot of people's butts from getting hurt and raped and killed too.
So are you saying that you killed in self-defense or in cold blood? What do you, because you've changed your story. I'm just trying to
What are you
understand.
talking about? Change story on what?
No, about whether it was self-defense or not.
I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to get into depth about my cases, Nick. I'm on my way to the chamber. Nothing stopping it. You can believe it or you don't have to believe it. That's up to you, man. Put a big question mark on your film.
Let's say the cops were following you.
Yeah.
Let's say they were following you and they did everything that you're saying they did.
Uh-huh.
Nonetheless,
Yeah.
you killed 7 men.
Yeah, sure
And I'm
did.
asking you, what got you to kill the 7
And I'm
men?
telling you because the cops let me keep killing them, Nick. Don't you get it?
Not everybody is killing 7 people. So there must have been something in you that was getting you to do
you
that.
are lost, Nick.
So
I was a
explain-
hitchhiking hooker.
Right.
Running into trouble. I shoot the guy if I ran into trouble. Physical trouble. The cops knew it. When the physical trouble came along, let her clean the streets. And then we'll pull her in.
But how
That's
come
why.
there was so much physical trouble in because it was all in 1 year? 7 people in 1
Oh,
year.
well. Oh, well.
But why not say now?
Because I'm out of retaliation for taking my life like this and getting rich off it all these years in total pathological lies. Yeah, thanks a lot, right? You sabotaged my ass, society, and the cops, and the system. A raped woman got executed. It was used for books and movies and shit. Ladder climbs, the election, everything else.
And that's where her and I differ. I chose words to get what I needed out. And unfortunately, she didn't have that opportunity. Did she get what she deserved? I don't think she should have been put to death, in my opinion. I think something should have been looked into more of why she was doing this. Was she really physically assaulted? Was this a self-defense? Prison was the best place for her. I'm not going to lie, because at least she was secure there. She was somewhat safe. I mean, how safe can you be in a prison? But she had a place She was secure. She knew where she was going to sleep every night. She was getting fed. And I'm sure she created a lot of new friendships in jail. And I think that's just what she needed. I think she just needed companionship and just people around her just to kind of keep her Aileen and not the monster that she became.
In the end, it was only the producers of this American TV movie who were able to cash in on Lee's story. Tyria and the police's conspiracy to get rich quick came to nothing once they were caught. But that hasn't stopped Lee Wuornos suspecting that someone, somewhere, wants to exploit her name.
It's making me get bitter, evil, angry. I've never been before in my life. Worse than even out there with those men. This is evil, what those people have done to me.
Do you feel anger or even hatred towards men?
I never hated men, but now I do. I mean, not all. I have a category. I hate those male... God. I hate those male cops. Real bad, because they're dirtballs. The cops, the judges, the lawyers, they're all male.
I have made peace with my Lord, and I have asked forgiveness.
The final twist in this already mad tale was when Lee Wuornos decided to plead no contest to the remaining 6 murder charges.
I sentence you in case number 91-463 to death for the murder of Troy Burris.
Her lawyer, Steve Glazer, found himself in the bizarre position of helping his client take the express route to the electric chair.
County case number, I sentence you to death for the murder of David Spears.
Thank you. And probably see, I'll be up in heaven while y'all are rotting in hell.
In effect, though, weren't you trying to kill your client?
It's not what I was trying to do, okay? It's what she wanted to have done to her. She was tired of being in the spotlight. She was tired of reporters and police and lawyers, everyone making a career off of her. She did not like the man-hating killer label. She didn't like the lesbian killer angle. She didn't like what people were saying about her. And she knows if she gets to go to trial 5 more times, she's going to be for the next 10 years.
Do you still believe she was competent to make that decision?
Without a doubt.
Okay, there will be an automatic appeal. You have the right to an appeal. Mr. Glazer, is that going to be handled by you
May
or the
your
public
wife and
defender?
kids get raped.
I would ask that you would appoint the public office.
Okay, I'll appoint the public defender's office to handle the appeal. There's one other thing that I want to say that I think needs to be said.
I know I was raped. You weren't nothing but a bunch of scum.
Therefore, these proceedings are now
Putting
concluded.
somebody who was raped to death.
Do you still want the chair?
There's no sense in having me tormented for the rest of my life when I don't deserve to be tormented.
So
I did what anybody else would do. And so there's only clemency or the chair. You make your pick, people, because that's the only way it's going to be.
Why did you adopt Lee Wuornos?
For one reason and one reason only. We wanted her to know what it felt like to be part of a family.
Born-again Christian Aileen Wuornos has a fondness for adopting stray animals. When she adopted Lee, she planned a life together on her farm. Now she'd be happy just to keep her alive.
That's it. Okay, that's about enough. There you go.
Well, tell me this, how did you counsel Lee?
I told her to go for the life in prison. I told her that that would be the best. I told her that God could use her within the prison to help other girls that were hurting, maybe didn't have a relationship with Jesus, and that she could really be used mightily there. And we fought bitterly over it. She said that no human being had the right to tell another human being what to do with their life.
If Steve Glazer has done his job, Lee Wuornos could be executed in this chair within 3 years. She's waived her right to appeal.
If he hears no last-minute stays from the governor's office, the electrode then is placed on top of the inmate's head. It's an actual cap with an electrode inside. It's secured onto his head. One of these electrodes here is then fastened onto the top of the headpiece.
Ouch.
Alone and lost in her own nightmare, Lee Wuornos is an American horror story. She could escape death row, but her bitterness and hate will see Lee become the first woman in over a century to be executed in Florida. Aren't you afraid?
No, I'm not afraid. I know where I'm going. I'm going to be with the Lord.
Thank you,
Take
too.
care of yourself and tell everybody else hi.
Do you want to die? You want to?
Oh man, if I was to leave this planet, it wouldn't be no big deal to me, because this is a wicked, wicked world. Wicked world.
With that being said, there are many other aspects of cases that you could say, well, how come this person was abused doing all this, this, and this, and they never did that? Well, I'm assuming also, too, that her parents, if they were drug addicts, they could have been doing drugs while she was in utero. She could have mental issues and disabilities. So you have to take that into consideration as well. So you can't just paint people as monsters and just not go into it and explain why they're doing it, because those are the key elements that we can use to educate ourselves to kind of prevent those moments from happening and triggering it so they flip to this monster. I've talked about mental illness and a lot on this show, and that's why next week I'm going to have Rachel Corbett. She just wrote a book called The Monsters We Make, and we're going to be discussing the rise of criminal profiling. Now, if you were to profile Aileen Wuornos, if you were to take all of her information, then you would honestly understand why she became what she became and why she did what she did. That's why criminal profiling is very important. You use those key things, gauge and grade these type of psychotic behaviors so we can prevent them from turning into serial killers and mass murderers. I mean, it seems like every other week there's a school shooting. We have to figure something out because it doesn't seem like it's getting any better. You know what I mean? But this book, we're going to talk about the rise of criminal profiling all the way from Sherlock Holmes. Yes, Sherlock Holmes to probably, Mindhunter, John Douglas, the FBI profiler who they based that series off of, trying to understand the key elements of why people do what we do or why they do what they do. But like I've talked about Ed Gein, what was the triggering point for him? Where could we have intervened so we wouldn't have been talking about, like we talk about Ed Gein today? Could we have changed history? Who knows? But that's why I think these books and these topics are very important, because there's a huge spectrum. It's not just one little box. Oh, you fit this. Oh, you're a sociopath. No, it's not like that. So obviously with Aileen Wuornos, but if you haven't checked out the documentary, go check it out. It's on Netflix. It's Aileen Wuornos, Queen of Serial Killers. Now remember, she's not the first female serial killer. Everybody keeps calling her that. I'm like, no, she's not. But probably the most famous one, especially in modern day, because you see, they've made movies. Charlize Theron did Monsters with Christina Ricci. There's been other ones too. So check them out. Look into her story. And when I listen to jail interviews, I kind of like Aileen. I could sit and have a beer with Aileen, and we could probably talk about music. I almost feel like in those moments when she became violent, it was like she disassociated herself and she wasn't Aileen at that moment. She was putting on that front, and I get it. Because once you've been abused, once you've been a victim of that kind of crime, you're going to constantly have your guard up, and you're going to protect yourself so it doesn't keep happening over and over again. So I think that's exactly what Aileen did. So if you agree with me, please let me know. If you disagree with me, even better, email me at mysteriesmayhemmerlot@gmail.com, because I like having these discussions, especially people who don't agree with me, because I want to learn why you think the way you do. So if you think Aileen got what she deserved, I would love to know why you think that way, and maybe we can have a discussion about it. But thank you guys so much for another wonderful episode. So next week, remember, I'm going to have Rachel Corbett on, talking about the monsters we make, murder obsession, and the rise of criminal profiling. That's going to be a very fun interview. I'm looking forward to it, because we might even bring up Aileen. We may even bring up Ed Gein. I don't know. I've covered so many lately that it seems like it's been a trend now. These psychotic breaks in people and causing them to be violent. So thank you guys so much, and I hope to see you all next week.
Thank you for joining me for another episode of Mysteries, Mayhem, and Merlot. And until our next case, my armchair detectives, stay safe, stay vigilant, and stay aware. I'll see you right here next week on Mysteries, Mayhem, and Merlot.
Have you ever felt like something or someone was trying to tell you something? That inner nudge, that quiet whisper from the universe, with intuition sharpened by years of spiritual connection and a deep-rooted gift. Winnie Schrader delivers readings that are compassionate, insightful, and shockingly accurate. Whether you're facing a crossroads healing from heartache, or just curious what the cards reveal, Winnie creates a safe, sacred space to explore your journey. This isn't fortune cookie fluff. This is honest, intuitive guidance from someone who's helped hundreds find clarity, closure, and confidence. If you've been waiting for a sign, this is it. Book your session now at lovelotustarot.com and take control of your journey. That's lovelotustarot.com. Winnie's sessions are personal, powerful, and often life-changing. That's lovelotustarot.com.